Welcome back to Serenity Speaks Conversations on Wellness. I'm your host, Cleo, and today we're delving into a pressing issue that affects millions worldwide, and that's the rise in depression and anxiety. Now, I did an episode a few weeks back with regards to toxic workplaces. And from that, some of the people that I've spoken to, the underlying cause, I suppose, is, or reaction to a toxic workplace is depression and anxiety. But then I looked at everything and I kind of thought, well, that seems to be on the rise in general. And sometimes I've questioned, is it because we are more focused on that? I mean, they're like buzzwords. Oh, I feel anxious. Oh, I feel depressed. Both of which I felt myself. So, you know, at times I've actually questioned myself. Is it anxiety and depression? Or is it because the doctor's telling me that it's anxiety and depression, if that makes sense? My understanding of anxiety, I have to admit, it's only been in the last few years, because up till then I didn't really think about it. I would say even before COVID, I really didn't think about this idea of what anxiety is, how it might feel. And I suppose that's with any situation, that we only kind of think about these things when they affect us directly and personally, or affect somebody we know. But depression and anxiety have become increasingly prevalent over the past few decades. And according to the World Health Organization, depression is now the leading cause of disability worldwide and affects more than 264 million people. Anxiety disorders are also on the rise, with an estimated 284 million people affected globally. But what's driving this increase? So this is really what I wanted to talk about today, and look at some of the key factors. One major factor is the rise of social media and technology. And whilst these advancements have brought many benefits, they've also introduced new challenges. So social media platforms often present an idealised version of life, which leads to social comparison and feelings of inadequacy. Studies have shown that frequent social media use is linked to increased levels of depression and anxiety, especially among teenagers. Now, for myself personally, and the people of my generation, we've actually watched, things change so rapidly over the last 40 years. So from a point of growing up or being a teenager, and the only way somebody could have contacted you then was to phone your landline or come and knock on your door, to now being fully accessible 24 hours a day. So just as an example, a 15-year-old could have their circle of friends and spend the day with them at school, and then get home and chat with them and interact with them throughout their dinner with their family, throughout their evening watching TV or going out, and throughout the night. I have no experience of that, but I do understand that that's the norm. That is so normal. And I'm using the age 14, 15, but I know and am aware that this starts a lot earlier. And this idea of, the constant pressure to keep up and feel like you're part of the in crowd, or you're doing what everybody else is doing, I can kind of relate to that. And every household's different. But it just feels as if there is something that's gotten quite out of hand, to the point of, I know I've heard stories, and I'm sure many of you will have, that Things like cyberbullying or not being able to keep up has actually caused some young people to commit suicide. This idea of being so pressured by what's going on online, seems so extreme, but for so many, that's real, that's their reality. So the cyberbullying, this self-esteem, low self-esteem and loneliness has become so significant that it has contributed to a lot or the majority of mental health problems in young people. And just pointing out the excessive screen time, which disrupts sleep patterns. I know we touched on sleep some weeks ago as well. Um, if you're looking at this screen all day or for a good chunk of hours throughout your day, this is definitely going to disrupt your sleep and in turn will disrupt your mental health. So poor sleep is strongly linked to both depression and anxiety. And I know, speaking to a lot of people, this thought or feeling of not being able to switch off. FOMO was the term that I heard, fear of missing out. So, imagine a young person then trying to go to sleep and then feeling like they've got to check their phone. Everybody else is doing something, um, joking, having fun, socializing, and you could be missing out and not wanting. So you spend the whole night checking your phone, checking your phone. I mean, it sounds like a nightmare, a complete disaster. And then having to get up in the morning and then function, learn if it's school or college or work. If you're, older, it sounds horrendous. The blue light that emits from screens, which does include your larger screens, but it's more intense in a mobile phone or a tablet, um, interferes with the production of melatonin and the hormone responsible for sleep. So again, this disruption can lead to insomnia and other sleep disorders, which in turn can contribute to your mental health. And just think about that. So this idea of, as a young, well, any person, but as a young person, sleep is so, so important because it is the time that your body restores, re-energizes, fills up, recharges. And if you're not getting that crucial sleep in these growing stages, these young parts of your life, these young years of your life, of course that's going to have a negative effect at that time. But also, I don't think we know yet what effects those will have later on. And I can't imagine that they will be positive effects. So beyond technology, economic and social factors also play a significant role in the rise of depression and anxiety. Economic instability, job insecurity, and financial stresses are major contributors to mental health problems. The global economic crises, such as the 2008 recession and the economic fallout from COVID-19, have left many people facing prolonged periods of uncertainty. Economic stresses such as unemployment and financial insecurity can lead to chronic stress, which is a major risk for both depression and anxiety. The uncertainty about the future can be particularly debilitating. Social isolation has become more pronounced, especially in urban environments where community bonds are often weaker. The COVID-19 pandemic further exacerbated this issue as lockdowns and social distancing measures left many people feeling isolated and disconnected. Human beings are inherently social creatures. So prolonged isolation can lead to feelings of loneliness and depression, and the lack of social support is a critical factor in the development of anxiety and depressive disorders. Biological and environmental factors are also really important to consider. Research indicates that genetics can play a role in susceptibility to depression and anxiety. If someone has a family history of these conditions, they may be more likely to develop them. And whilst genetics alone don't determine whether someone will develop depression or anxiety, they can increase vulnerability, especially when combined with environmental stressors. Exposure to environmental stressors such as trauma, violence, and chronic stress can trigger or exacerbate mental health issues. Experiences of trauma, whether in childhood or adulthood, can have long-lasting effects on mental health. Chronic stress, whether from personal relationships, work, or environmental factors, can also lead to the development of depression and anxiety. And lastly, cultural and societal changes contribute to the rising rates of depression and anxiety. Modern society places high demands on individuals to succeed academically, professionally, and personally. And this constant pressure can lead to chronic stress and eventual burnout. The societal expectation to constantly achieve and excel can be overwhelming, and many people feel that they are never doing enough, which can lead to feelings of inadequacy and depression. And despite the growing awareness, there is still stigma attached to mental health issues, and this can prevent people from seeking help and having a get on with it type of attitude. A lack of access to mental health services and support is also a great barrier. The stigma surrounding mental health can discourage individuals from seeking the help that they need. And additionally, limited access to affordable mental health care means that many people just do not receive adequate support. The waiting lists to see a counsellor through your GP, getting a referral from the GP to see a counsellor, the waiting lists are, I mean, it's ridiculous. It's between 6 to 8 months. And bearing in mind that once you finally get your appointment, it's not going to always be the first counsellor that you meet and see that's going to work. You really do have to build a rapport or, feel some kind of connection with the counsellor. So imagine waiting 6 to 8 months to get an appointment with a counsellor and then just feeling as if it did nothing at all. So you're back to square one. The rise in depression and anxiety is a multifaceted issue and is influenced by many factors, as we've mentioned: technology, economic and social factors, biological and environmental factors, and cultural changes. It's essential that we address these factors holistically to support mental health. There are ideas that, this is just some kind of phase, or they are excuses, that everybody's fine and we're weaker than we used to be. We need to just get on with things, which, that was the way to cope. People really didn't talk about these things, let's say, when I was growing up in the 80s. It just wasn't. I mean, I only found out, as I mentioned, really truly what anxiety was when somebody else explained what they were going through. And I remember thinking, oh, well, I've been anxious for most of my life then, because we just accepted this to be the norm. We do have the answers, however. mindfulness, which is another buzzword, which seems to be on the tips of everybody's tongue, and then people not really understanding how all this fits together or how all this works. I heard somebody actually say the other day that there is no such thing as mental health. I thought it was a really odd thing to say, so their understanding was that mental health, that is the problem itself or the issue itself, not understanding that we have, physical health, emotional health. Everybody has mental health, of course. It's whether that mental health is in a good state or a bad state. Are we feeling good and positive and looking ahead, and happy to be alive, or are we feeling low, down, depressed, and unable to find the point to move on? Those are two extremes, and there's a whole range of moods in between. But everybody has mental health, and it's about looking after our mental health. So mindfulness is the big step towards that. And next week's episode will be on mindfulness, understanding mindfulness, and what we can each do to take responsibility for our own mental health and our health in general. And going back to the root of this podcast for me, or the reason why I wanted to start this podcast, is yoga is what has brought about so much understanding of myself. And I know this to be for many, many people. It's not just an exercise, even though if that's what you want from yoga, great stuff. It's not just your meditation and feeling calm and zen. But again, if that's what you get from it, props. It really is about living your life in a way where the ups and downs don't, destroy your whole day or your week or your month or your year. Being able to cope with things that crop up. The pandemic is a really good example. Something that none of us could have expected. None of us could have, envisioned how that would pan out, how we would be feeling, what would we be doing. But yoga helped me through that period in many, many ways. And it's a way to mindfulness, really. And it is a way of life. But then why shouldn't yoga be incorporated in all our lives? I think I've mentioned before as well, there were so many. The other day, I caught an episode of one of the soaps, Coronation Street, and there's some cult going on in the background, and it crushes me every time, because anytime there's some kind of cult, whether that's depicted in fiction on TV or in a movie or some documentary, these organisations, these cults, always tend to tap into the ideas of meditation and your breathing exercises, which are real positive things in people's lives, but it seems so negative when you see it in that cult background with that. It's almost like that's how they get you hooked, with these ideas of how you can look after yourself, and then once you're in there, you're stuck. And it really isn't. And I think I've mentioned this before. Yoga is a way to tune into yourself. So you're not following anything or anybody. In fact, if you look deeply into the practice of yoga, what it's actually saying to you is look into yourself and follow yourself. There is no leader. There is no anybody that you should be obeying or bowing down to, apart from yourself and the rest of humanity. And that for me really sits well, with my feelings of how I feel about myself and how I connect with the world and thoughts of the universe and deeper thoughts moving forwards. There is definitely the philosophical side, and again, it doesn't have to be that deep if you don't want it to be. But if there's a practice out there that brings you a sense of peace and calm in your mind and your body and in your heart, and if there's a way for you to ease yourself throughout stress and difficult times, and these answers come under the umbrella of yoga, then I would say that's a really good thing. There is no harm. So I'd like to end today's episode with a meditation. And if this is your first time listening to Serenity Speaks Conversations on Wellness, and you've never tried or experienced meditation before, I really hope that this will be a key for you, or a step to finding that inner peace, a way to connect to yourself. And by that I mean, sometimes life, there's so much going on, again with today's episode, anxiety, depression, feeling disconnected from what's going on, feeling lonely or isolated. And a meditation can always bring you back to this sense of what's going on within you, how are your thoughts connected to your actions and your words and your body, how you feel within yourself. So I really hope for anybody who's listening and everybody who's listening that this meditation will be beneficial to you. Welcome to this guided theta meditation, a deeply relaxing and transformative experience. Theta brainwaves are associated with a state of deep relaxation, creativity, and heightened intuition. So, find a quiet and comfortable space where you can sit or lie down without any distractions. Close your eyes and take a few deep breaths to begin. And as you continue to breathe, notice your breath. Bring your attention to the top of your head. And imagine a beautiful glowing light. And this light represents the gateway to the theta state, where your subconscious mind opens up to profound healing and insights. Visualize this light expanding and flowing down from the top of your head, covering your entire body like a warm, gentle wave. With each breath, feel this light entering your body, bringing deep relaxation and a sense of peace. Focus on your breath Inhale slowly and deeply through your nose to the count of 4. Feel the breath filling your lungs and expanding your abdomen. Holding your breath for a count of 4. And slowly exhaling to the count of 4. Releasing any tensions or worries. Feeling your breath filling your lungs. Holding for 4. Exhaling for 4. And continuing this cycle, rhythmic breathing. And visualizing yourself in a serene, peaceful, lush garden. Feel the soft, lush, green grass beneath your feet, and the gentle breeze on your skin. Connect with the sounds of nature around you and allow them to soothe your mind. In this tranquil place, you are safe and at ease. Let go of any thoughts that arise. Allow them to drift away like leaves and petals carried by the wind. Embrace the stillness and silence within you. Visualize yourself surrounded by a shimmering sphere of golden light. This protective sphere is filled with love and positive energy given from the universe. You are cocooned in this sphere, completely shielded from any external negativity or stress. Within this sacred space, you have access to your subconscious mind, where profound healing and transformation take place. allowing you to release any old patterns or limiting beliefs that no longer serve you. And to welcome positive changes into your life. Allow any emotions or memories that arise to flow through you without judgment. Trust that your subconscious mind knows exactly what needs to be healed and transformed. As you rest in this theta state, imagine that stream of golden light flowing down from above, entering the top of your head and filling your entire being with healing energy. This golden light carries the wisdom and guidance of your higher self. Feel this light expanding throughout your body, bringing healing to every cell, tissue and organ, allowing it to penetrate deeply into any areas of tension or discomfort, melting away any blockages or negativity. Take a moment to express gratitude to yourself for dedicating this time to your well-being and personal growth. Trust that the healing process continues way beyond this meditation. Inhaling deeply through your nose and exhale through your mouth, letting go. A huge sigh. Inhale deeply through your nose. Exhale, letting go through your mouth. And inhaling deeply through your nose. And returning your breath to its normal pattern. Breathing at your own pace. This slowly brings your awareness back to your physical surroundings. And wiggle your fingers and toes. Gently stretch your body Bring your chin to your chest, stretching the top of your spine, and slowly looking up towards the ceiling. And then back, chin to chest. And it's always really nice to bring your palms together and rub your palms vigorously, generating heat between your palms. And bringing your palms to your face without touching your face. And feeling the heat from your palms on your eyes and your forehead. And slowly flickering your eyes open behind your palms and releasing your palms. Namaste. Thank you for joining me in this transformative theta meditation. Carry this sense of relaxation and inner wisdom with you throughout your day. Thank you so much for joining me again on Serenity Speaks Conversations on Wellness. I really hope this episode has been of benefit to you, or something that you can pass on to somebody who may need to hear it. I'm going to put some links in the show notes, but if you or someone you know is struggling with depression or anxiety, reach out for help. Speak to a mental health professional, connect with support groups, talk to a trusted friend or family member, because there is absolutely no shame in seeking help. And thank you once again for joining me on Serenity Speaks Conversations on Wellness. And let's continue to be the support and raise awareness, supporting each other in our journeys to better mental health and better health overall. So until next time, be well and stay serene.